I think at its core, our journey has been one about remembering. My family and I moved here the tail end of October 2019. My plan when I got here was to kind of live in the church, for a year, get to know people, let them get to know me. And then in March 2020, the world shut down, so I'd only been here for about 4 months at that point. So everything kind of got put on hold. We just, kind of went right into survival mode to get through the pandemic. And then Pentecost Sunday of 2021, I came to the congregation and said, hey, we're starting to come out of this pandemic. We're starting to return to normal. The world has changed. Our church has changed. We've all changed. So let's spend the summer praying and asking God what's next for us. We wanted to see where the Holy Spirit was working and how we can get involved there. Talking to our conference supervisor, and he had recommended some new workshops that had just begun. One was Trellis, which kind of takes a look at the relational health of your congregation. And the other one was discovering or finding your why. The first pivotal moment for our vitality process was definitely the Trellis workshop. We got some folks here together on a Saturday morning, Saturday afternoon, which was difficult because the Buckeyes were playing. And Mary Hendrickson led the workshop and just helped us kind of see, where our church has been, how we're relating to each other, how we have related to each other in the past. And I was really glad we did that first because it really gave us a language for how to talk to each other when there might be disagreements that might come through the rest of the vitality process, because anytime you change anything, people get uncomfortable. It's just human nature. I would say the second really pivotal moment was when we did Finding Your Why. It really helped the church remember who it was, remember who it's always been. They got to look back on the moments that they were really proud of. And we're talking people going back to the 80s, 90s, remembering some really good ministry that this church has done in our community. But the older folks were able to hear from some of the newer folks of some ways that they've seen the church be involved in mission and be involved in the community. And I think that between the two, the newer folks were able to see, oh, this is who this church has always been. And the older folks were able to see, hey, this is who we still are. And I think a lot of confidence came out of that meeting, and especially since we had two working groups working on a new potential mission statement, and both came back pretty similar. And out of that, we came up with a rough draft for our mission statement, and then council approved it. And then at our congregational meeting in December, when I kind of walked us through the process of what we had done the last several months, and then we unveiled our new mission statement, which was a really great reflection of who this church has always been and who it wants to be right now. And obviously the biggest thing that came out of this was our decision to fully fund a Habitat for Humanity house.
Because of the generosity of our people, we have had this surplus fund that I think people were just super reluctant to, oh, what if we need it? What if we need it for this? What if we need it for that? And so it was just sitting there gaining interest, which is a good thing. But it was just sitting, not helping people. And so I was so nervous presenting it to the congregation because everybody was so quiet, and I was just sure they were going like, why would we do that? And then somebody raised their hand and said, I vote we do $100,000. And it was like, oh, wow. And then people just got so excited about it. It tied so well into our new mission statement of forming relationships with other organizations to help people in the community, because home ownership does so much for a family. Like generationally, it breaks the cycle of poverty for a family.
I'm not entirely sure that it would have been suggested had we not gone through the vitality process. I think what the vitality process did for us was it reminded us again of our history. I think it gave us confidence that that God has worked and is still at work in this congregation. And I think it gave some people permission to say goodbye to a lot of money. I think it helped give purpose. It's not just funding a Habitat for Humanity house. It's us being who we want to be. And I think that was really the biggest change we saw. Was it wasn't just about doing something. It was doing something because it perfectly reflected who we've decided we are as a church and where we think God is at work and what God is doing in and through us.
Do you need some good news right now? That was a hard discussion that just happened, but I'm here to bring you hope, to bring you good news out of Start and Strengthen churches. Over the last years, President John Wenrick worked hard, had a passion for revitalization of churches, and President Wenrick, we are grateful for that work. Over the last 2 years, things have changed a little bit, would you agree? And are you facing any challenges in your churches? My church is facing challenges, and we made a commitment to listen to you, to listen to our established churches that had the world flipped upside down. We partnered with regional conference representatives who formed a new vitality team. This team is the best. Yes, I'm a little prejudiced, but they are the best. They are diverse. They are catalytic. They attend monthly Zoom meetings, which are the highlight of my month. And twice a year, we have been getting together to pray and to discern how we can strengthen you and your churches. We discern that God is doing a new thing in vitality ministry. Congregational vitality is now missional vitality. We are called to reimagine churches and to empower mission. Does that sound good? We felt that there were questions that you are asking. I know you're asking because I get the emails. One of the questions is, how is our church doing? How are we doing? And so we developed a new church health assessment called the PH Check. The PH Check stands for Periodic Health Checkup. How often do you get a physical? Hopefully not more than a year or two, and we recommend that you take this checkup and you see how your church is doing. It measures 3 major areas: missional identity, vision, and leadership. It's fully online. It only takes your congregants 15 to 20 minutes, and then you get a robust report that is usable from the get-go. We felt that there were new workshops that were needed that answered other questions. One, why are we here? Churches seem to be asking that question a lot. Why are we here at this particular time? And so a new workshop called Finding Your Why was developed. And that uses Simon Sinek's work in a church and scriptural context to examine who a church has been and why God placed them in ministry from the beginning and ongoing into the future. If you ask the question, who are we now? We have HMS, which stands for Heart, Mind, and Strength. This helps you discover with your congregation what the congregation brings in the way of passion, in the way of knowledge, in the way of skills, and in the way of spiritual gifts, and then looks at what picture do we have of who we are as a whole. It's an exciting workshop where it's dynamic, back and forth discovery. If you ask the question, how can we work together in a healthy way? Maybe there are problems within your congregations and there's struggles and it's just not going as well as you would hope. We bring you Trellis. Trellis uses the principles of Pete Scazzaro's emotionally healthy spirituality and relationships to help you learn how to talk to one another. It also brings work from Sam Chan's culture with church cultures, helping you to move from a toxic church culture to a culture that is missional and healthy. We have been forming resources for your leadership teams as well because we feel that those are somehow missing in the mix. And so we have for you leadership math, which helps to develop and identify leaders, and a full suite of transition resources, because are we going through transition right now? Every church is going through some sort of transition as a result of what has happened in the world around us. One of the resources helps process loss that happens during transition. One is on conflict transformation, not just resolution, transformation. Another, developing healthy systems in the church. And finally, one called congregational snapshots, where you can figure out in real time where your church is right now. Another question is, well, what do we do next? After you access these resources, we have a resource called Living Your Why, which is for leadership teams to do strategic discernment and planning. And then finally, we have a coaching resource for you to walk alongside you and your leadership teams. It's for pastors, it's for leadership teams as you go through a journey of discovery and vitality. And one of the most exciting things for me is all of these resources are currently being translated into Spanish. We are committed to providing access to these for all of our churches. And do these resources help? Well, you just heard from Pastor Steve Hoffman, and let me share an update that he gave me right when I got here. He told me that he learned that there was a community group that matched what his church gave. And so not one, but 2 Habitat for Humanity houses were fully funded. Yeah. So if you are ready to reimagine your church and to empower mission, contact us. Contact us. We have a slide that has our contact information. Oh yeah, we do have a QR code. We're with it. We have a QR code for you. So please scan that. I will be at the booth, the Start and Strengthen booth, immediately following this as we go into lunch. Let us help you be who God has called you to be in this moment. Thank you, and thank you, Madam Moderator.